Season's greetings, folks, and here is our special Christmas episode coming at you right now on the Chuckwagon Cowboy Show. Well, howdy y'all, and a big ho 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 to y'all, and welcoming you to our special Christmas episode right here on the Chuckwagon Cowboy Show, hosted by yours truly, Chef Ron Locke. Traditions. Let me talk to you a little bit about traditions. Now, traditions during the holiday are really important. A couple of reasons I can give you for that. Number one, it brings the families together. It gives you some purpose. It gives you some reason to get together for the holidays. And traditions are always good because it gives you some sort of expectation of what you're going to get each year. If you start a certain tradition, that could be maybe an event, maybe a game, maybe a movie, a certain type of food. And in my family, we had a centerpiece main course tradition, which was our Yuletide standing rib roast. Now, in my family, and if you've watched this show enough, you know that I come from a pretty humble family when it comes to money. We didn't have a lot of money. So, you know, my folks, they started a Christmas fund at the beginning of the year, and at the end of the year, they were crossing their fingers hoping there was enough in the fund to at least get us a couple presents and maybe a little bit of food on the table. But you know what? For as long as I remember, my mama, she always scrimped and saved out of that fund just enough to make sure that we had this standing rib roast as a centerpiece in our dinner. And I'm going to tell you what, if you've ever looked and bought one of these or know how much they're not cheap. They are not cheap at all. So there was a lot of sacrificing going on during the course of the year to be able to afford these kind of luxuries that were luxuries to us growing up. So this has always been one of my traditions that I always look forward to in the family. And I'll tell you what, Christmas morning, let me tell you what, there were two traditions I always look forward to. Now the first was, of course, opening up presents. Now come on, who's not always excited about that first thing in the morning, right? So that was always my first tradition. And so once that was all over, the smells started coming out of the kitchen. And those smells were this fantastic Yuletide standing rib roast coming out of the kitchen. The smells were just wonderful, and you're just building that anticipation because you know you've been waiting all year for this. It's gonna be good. So, you know, it wasn't always about the presents, it was more about the whole experience of the holiday season, and just enjoying this standing rib roast was such a thrill for me as a child growing up. And actually, to be honest with you, this was one of the recipes that really got me involved in the kitchen with my mama, learning how to cook and getting into the culinary world with her, so to speak. So I have a very high pride and a good thought process and memories to this particular rib roast. So, you know what? At this point, I've done enough talking, haven't I? All right, well, you know what we're going to do at this point, right? If you've seen this show enough, we're going to, wait for it, that's right, we're going to go to the ingredients. All right, so let's go ahead and do that, shall we? All right, now let me tell you before we do that, one little thing. What I'm going to introduce to you first of all here is not the rib roast itself. We're going to go ahead and introduce to you the rib roast seasoning that goes on top and around this succulent standing rib roast. Now this is my own special blend. I call it my Chef Ron's rib roast seasoning. So you're going to love this. You're going to love this and the method that I use in the cooking process too. These two methods are just going to bring one of the most succulent and flavorful standing rib roasts that you could ever taste. Trust me on this one. I've used this one for years and it's just phenomenal. So, alright, giving you a little bit more background before we start introducing these ingredients here, because this is going to be the ingredients for the seasoning, alright? So, let's get on with this, shall we? Alright, well first off we've got here 1.5 tablespoons of paprika, alright? We've got here 1/2 tablespoon of salt, okay? We've got 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Now we get into 1/2 teaspoons with the rest of these ingredients here. Go through this rather quickly, I'm sure. We've got here 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. We have a half a teaspoon here of onion powder. We've got a half a teaspoon here of cayenne pepper. We've got a half a teaspoon here of dried thyme, and lastly we have a half teaspoon here of dried oregano. And that is the ingredients for my standing rib roast rub, or seasoning, however you want to call it. And all you're going to do with this is just find yourself like a mason jar or some sort of a mayonnaise jar, a jar maybe about, oh, I'd say about that size, kind of a small to medium size. You're just going to pour all of the different ingredients into that jar and then just shake it up a little bit. Just get it all nice and shake it up for about a minute, and that's it. That's all you do. Now that shelf life will be for about 6 months, and you can use this particular seasoning or rub on any particular meats, not just standing rib roast. You can use it on any type of roast, steaks, anything. It really works well, and it has a great flavor. Give this a try. I guarantee you will love it. You will love it. Now, coming up next, we're going to go ahead and introduce to you our standing rib roast, get some of that wonderful seasoning on top of it, and then we're going to go ahead and place it into the oven. So you got to come back and check this out, alright? Alright. Well, alright, we are back, and two things we're going to do right now before we get into our standing rib roast. First of all, we're going to roll up our sleeves here because we're going to get busy in this kitchen now. So let me go ahead and do that. Secondly, what we're going to do is make sure we wash our hands, because if you've watched my show, you know that I always preach, keep your hands clean and your environment clean, because the last thing you want to do is you don't want to contaminate your food. There's a lot of cross-contamination going on if you don't keep things clean, and the last thing you want to do is get your friends, family, and loved ones sick from something you served them. That would not be a good idea at all. So let's get over to the sink and wash our hands here. I probably should have been a doctor instead of a chef, as much as I wash these things. I kind of feel like it sometimes. Alright. I think we're good here. Nice and clean. Impeccably clean. Alright, so we have here our standing rib roast introducing here. Now you can see here that two things. First of all, there's string that's tied around the standing rib roast. Now that's standard. Main reason why is because in the cooking process there's a possibility of it sliding off the bottom bone. You don't want to have that. That would be a disaster, especially at preparation time. Now of course you want it to come off the bone at some point before you start carving it, and we'll get to that a little bit later, but for now you just want to make sure that if it's trussed up, and if it's not, you want to make sure you get some butcher string and do that, and it's really important. But most places, most grocery stores or meat markets will generally do that for you, and if it's not, just go ahead and ask your butcher at the store or the market to go ahead and do that for you. But most of the time it's done, so just pointing that out to you. Alright, that's pretty much it. We're going to go ahead now and take our standing rib roast seasoning that I made in the last segment and use it as a rub to put over the standing rib roast here. So first thing you want to do is make sure you put your standing rib roast into a big large bowl. We have a 5-pound standing rib roast here. I think it's a little bit over 5 pounds. And so what you want to do is take a tablespoon of the seasoning and 2 tablespoons of olive oil and just go ahead and mix that up. Alright, just mix that all up nice and good. Got a little bit of it right here. What we're going to do now is this is where we go ahead and take our hands and mess around with the food a little bit. Alright, so just go ahead and just dip your hand into it. Don't be shy. Okay, just like that, and just start rubbing it all into this. Now you can either do this way or pour it on. You pour it on though, you kind of waste a little bit, and you really want to be strategic about how you do this. So that's all we're doing here. So now normally I take both hands and do it, but I want to keep one hand clean here in case I got to go grab something or reach for something and I don't have all this all over my hands. So, alright, now we're going to go ahead and just turn this baby over. You just go ahead like this, and you just continue doing this. Just like so. You know, this is the point where you don't worry about a clean kitchen. You're going to get stuff all over the place. So, alright. Rub that, and we turn it over like so, and we want to get the top side nice and done. And then what I'm going to do at the end here is I'll just go ahead and pour this on over. So, I'm moving this bowl. I hope this camera here can get everything. Now I'm just going to go ahead and just pour the rest on. Whoa! And that's important why you want to keep one hand free, because this stuff is slippery, and let me tell you, this stuff will go all over the place, you know. Only on the Chuckwagon Cowboy Show. Only on the Chuckwagon Cowboy Show. But you gotta say that was a great save though, right? That was a great save. Alright. So now I can get all down and dirty in here, because I know everything now is out of the little bowl and onto this. This is a great, great rub. Alright. We got a wonderful, wonderful, well-seasoned standing rib roast here, and well-seasoned hands as well. So I'm going to get over to the kitchen and or the sink there and wash my hands off, and then let's go ahead and prepare this onto our baking rack. Alright, we have in front of us here our standing rib roast on our tray in our baking pan here. And now what we want to go ahead and do is we want to go ahead and get our temperature gauge into our probe into the center of our standing rib roast. And the best way of doing that is, I have to keep it low for my oven because I don't have a lot of clearance, so you have to kind of play around with that. I try to keep it as low as I can, and then you got to hit this, try to get to the center. So kind of guide that just a little bit like that. Okay. And yes, my hands are clean. In case somebody was wondering, they hadn't seen me wash them. I had just washed them. Alright. Now, there's that. Okay, that's good right there. You kind of just have to feel your way. You kind of know where about the center of it is. You want to get it in the center of your standing rib roast. And your internal temperature when it's done, and our preheat oven, by the way, at 375 is done as well. But you want to go ahead and get your internal temperature of your standing rib roast at around 140 to 145. That is in between medium rare and medium. If you want a little more medium rare, you could do it about 135. If you want to go a little more medium, I'd go maybe at least 145. Not much more than that. Now, you want to also, before you take that out of the oven, you want to go ahead and make sure that it is at least 5 degrees lower than what your attained temperature should be. So if you want a 145 degree temperature, you want to take it out at 140 degrees because it will rise over the next 15 to 20 minutes at least another 3 to 5 degrees. So keep that in mind too. It still cooks. Even though it's not in the oven, that thing is hot in itself, so just keep that in mind as well. Alright, now let me explain the cooking process for you on this because it's a little interesting. Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put this in a preheated 375 degree oven for 1 hour. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and shut that off for 3 hours. You do not, I repeat, do not open the door to your oven from the moment this standing rib roast goes in to the time you pull it out. Now, when we come back, we're going to go ahead and show you or talk to you about the second phase of this particular recipe and the importance, again, of not opening that oven. So right now, we're going to go ahead and put this into our 375 degree oven and then come back and we will take you into the next phase of the cooking. Alright? Alright, let me turn around here and put this in here for you. Now, one thing you got to watch out for too is your temperature probe ending here, because you're going to obviously want that at the end of the stove here. Make sure you get it centered. Alright, you see how I'm doing this? Sorry again for my back being close to you. Hold it out like that. I keep my temperature probe right here. I've already got it set for 140. Come on. And there we go. Sometimes they don't want to go in. And that's it. That's all you do. So, again, when we come back, we'll go ahead and we'll come back at the hour point, and then I'll tell you again about, leaving it closed for 3 hours and such. And then we'll continue walking you through the complete stage of our Yuletide standing rib roast recipe. All right? So, come on back. Now, we are at the point where we're going to shut our oven off on our Yuletide standing rib roast. So, I'm turning my back for a second. I've just shut my oven off. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just let this bake in there on its own heat for the next 3 hours. Okay? Do not, I repeat, do not open that oven for any reason. You shouldn't have opened it in the first hour anyway. I know you may want to nose in there and see how all of that goodness is going on in there and everything else. If y'all have a light, put your light on in the oven, but do not open that oven through this whole process, alright? So, alright, now, next up, we'll turn the oven back on after the 3 hours, and I'll give you more instructions for the final part of our Yuletide standing rib roast. Alright, it has now been 3 hours without any additional temperature heat in the oven itself, and right now I'm looking at my internal temperature. It's saying 129 degrees right now is the internal temperature in our standing rib roast. Now we want to bring it up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit as our optimal temperature. So what we're going to do right now for the last half hour or so is we're going to go ahead and put the oven back on, excuse me for turning here, to 375. And there we go. We're all set. Now, you want to keep an eye on your internal timer because the temperature is going to start jumping probably pretty fast after about 10 or 15 minutes. So don't go by the 30-minute rule. Just keep an eye on it every few minutes or so. Most of them have an alarm anyway, but if you don't have it set, or for some reason you're trying to gauge by the half an hour, don't, because you don't want it to go over 140 degrees, alright? Because it's still going to cook another probably 15-20 minutes once you take it out of the oven, alright? So that's it. So I just wanted to let you know that. Do not, again, do not open the oven door for any reason. I sure hope at this point you haven't. If you have, shame on you. Keep it closed until the final process of taking it out of the oven and letting it set when it's done, when it hits the 140 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so that's it. And when we come back here, we're going to go ahead and take this out of the oven and get going on deboning it and carving it up for y'all for our final presentation. So come on back. Well, all right, the moment of truth has come, and now we're going to go ahead and remove our Yuletide standing rib roast out of the oven. It is at 140 degrees right now, so we want to quickly get this out because it's going to climb a little bit more in the temperature as it sets, all right? So let me go ahead now. The first thing you want to do, remove your temperature plug from your temperature, your temperature gauge there, because you're going to be pulling that out of the oven. You don't want to be taking that with you, all right? So, all right, let's go ahead now, open her up, and see what we got. Oh, yeah. This looks wonderful. This looks wonderful. Now, we need to be careful because it is very hot. I'm going to go ahead and take the gauge out of here. Careful. Like that. Because we do not want to have to wrestle with that when we're taking this out of the oven. It's going to be extremely hot. Alright? So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Over here. Listen to that. Take a look at that. That, my friends, sorry for turning my back on you there. That, my friends, is the perfect standing rib roast. Alright, now we need to let this sit for about another 15-20 minutes so it can congeal all the juices throughout the entire standing rib roast. It needs to like settle and just cool off a little bit. Now you can go ahead if you want and put the thermometer back into your meat if you really want to see the climbing temperature. It should only be about another 3 to 5 degrees. You should get about 143 to 145 degrees Fahrenheit with your final standing rib roast. So, alright, well we're going to let this sit for a little bit and then we're going to go ahead and start the deboning and the presentation.
You are watching WYE The Network.
we have our standing rib roast right now off of the roasting pan and onto a cutting board. Now what we're going to do is a couple different things. We're first going to go ahead and remove the string that was tied around this to keep it in place. So we're going to go ahead right now and do that, and you can either use a knife or scissors. I like the kitchen shears here that I have. You just go ahead and snip, snip, snip. Now what will happen is the roast will sit in its final resting place. I know that sounds horrible, but it actually will rest in its final resting place once we take the strings off. And then next what we're going to do is we're going to actually go ahead and carve the bone out of it. So we need to take the strings out here, so let's go ahead and do that right now. Very simple. Make sure you get them all. I think there may be one left down there. And I'll just do it like this. Okay. Alright, you see how pretty simple this is. Just do one at a time. You don't want to get carried away now too much. You shouldn't get much of any meat or anything else pulled away from this if it's done right. That's why I said, you know, there's a little bit there, but that's alright. Alright, I do believe that that's it. Double check and make sure, but I believe there was 3 strings on there. That looks about right. Alright, now what we're going to do here next is this is going to look, maybe seem a little tricky. Now, unfortunately my camera can't get exactly where I want to be because I'm right-handed, and for me to do that would mean to be turning it around the other way. I don't have any counter space really on the other side of the kitchen. So I'm just going to kind of take you through it and walk you through it. The camera may get a little bit of this hopefully, but what you want to do at this point, get yourself a meat fork here and get a good grip on your standing rib roast, alright? Because you're going to have to hold on to it a little bit. Now what you want to do is get a nice long carving knife like I have right here, okay? Now there's the bone. Let me see if I can do this. The camera may get this. There's the bone right here on the end here. Now all you want to do is just carve against the bone. And what you're going to do is kind of go on an arc, on an angle. And you just want to get just as much of the bone as you can and not any of the meat. You know what I'm saying? Just get as little as you can. So you just got to get in here and just start cutting. Now, I can see already that this is going to be an easy task because this was done nicely. This is almost going to fall off the bone. But I'm just going to go ahead and start carving, and you'll see what I'm saying here. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is fantastic. This is just coming right off. Okay. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Now here we go. I just got to get one little thing here. This is going to fall just like that. Wow. That is incredible. Alright. Pull that out for a second. We're going to set that down. I want to show you there, right there, if the camera can get that, that is your bone, that's your bone part right there. And you can see it literally, I hardly even had to cut off of this. It literally fell right off of the meat. Talk about a perfect standing rib roast that just falls right off the bone, literally. And this is another reason why you want to make sure that you get your butcher's twine and tie it up, because that could literally separate in the cooking process, and that would not be pretty. So there you go. I think 3 of my friends' lucky dogs are going to get an early Christmas present out of this. So let me set this over here. Alright. Very good. Now all you want to do, I'm going to wash my hands at this point because I'm going to start handling the meat here a little bit. Alright. There we go. Alright, now I'm just going to go ahead and just position this down like so. There, a nice flat surface for you that you can start carving. Wash them again because there's a lot of stuff on there. A lot of that goodness. Alright. Very good. Now, again, because I'm right-handed, I'm going to have to do this a little awkwardly. Normally I would just do it and do it this way, but I want the camera to see this. So I'm going to go ahead here and kind of do a left-right here. But basically you want to just go ahead and carve into about where the bones were. You don't want it too thin because it'll get cold real quick. So we're going to make our first cut and see how this turned out. I do believe this is probably going to turn out well. So let's see here. Let's do about that. And there we go. Just like that. That's a nice piece for somebody. There we go. I'm trying not to move this too much so the camera can get it. There we go. Just like that. Let's see if I can turn this around so the camera can get that and part of the other part here. I do hope it can. That, my friends, right there is a very, very nice medium rare standing roast beef piece right there. And the nice crust on the other side, it's fantastic. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and keep carving this up, and I wanna go ahead and get a presentation plate together for y'all, and I'm just dying to sneak a little taste of this, all right? So let's get to it. Well, we have a presentation plate already made up, and I'm just itching to try a piece of this Yuletide standing rib roast. Now, you can go ahead and use an au jus either on top, or use it as a dipping sauce, or you can create one of your own sauces if you'd like for it. Now, personally, for me, I love my own horseradish sauce that I use. It's a creamy horseradish sauce. It goes so well, it complements so well with this type of meat. So, you know what? Enough of me yakking. I want to taste this right now. So, I got my trusty fork and knife here. Let's see how this turned out. I'm just going to take a little piece here. Alright, just like that. Okay. There we go. Dip this into my sauce a little bit here. Let's see how this is. Three words. Yee-haw yum! That is butter, man. That is butter in your mouth. It is made to perfection. It is fantastic. There is such a savory crust to this. The meat is perfectly done, medium rare. It's juicy, it's succulent. The flavors are just incredible, and the horseradish sauce goes really well with this too. So, it's awesome. It's incredible. It's a yee-haw yum type of meal, and perfect for Christmas. That's it. I reckon that's about all the time we have for on this holiday show. Now, we hope you've enjoyed our show as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you, and that we've made your holidays yee-haw yum. So, from all of us here at the Chuckwagon Cowboy Show to all of you at home, wishing you happy holidays and a rootin' tootin' New Year. Well, howdy everyone, and welcome to a special holiday episode of the Chuckwagon Cowboy Show, hosted by yours truly, Chef Ron Locke. Now, this Christmas Eve episode, we're going to be talking about the celebration called the Feast of the Seven Fishes. Now, if y'all don't know what the Feast of the Seven Fishes is, don't worry, I'm going to tell you what that is. All right, well, the Feast of the Seven Fishes started out in southern Italy many centuries ago. It's an Italian tradition that celebrates the birth of the baby Jesus at midnight, December 25th. Now, this feast contains 7 different types of fishes or seafood, and you can do it in 7 different courses, or you can combine your fish and seafood or different fishes and have smaller courses if you want, but it all needs to contain 7 different types of fish or seafood. So when I do it in a buffet style. You can have a sit-down dinner style with it as well, but when I celebrate this holiday, I have my friends and family over, and we go ahead and just do up a big old buffet, and just let everybody help themselves to different entrees and such, and just make it a great shindig. And we await to go to midnight mass and celebrate the birth of baby Jesus. Alright, so I participate in this myself, and my entry for our special Christmas Eve episode here is going to be my baked stuffed shrimp. So, now that you all know a little bit about the Feast of the Seven Fishes, why don't we get over here and try these ingredients and talk about them, shall we? Alright, let's do that. Alright, well, first off here, we got 1 cup of mushrooms. Now, mushrooms, love mushrooms, and they always are so good in any kind of meal. This stuffing is going to be great, and that'll be a great addition. We have here 3 tablespoons of minced onion, and that's about a half of a medium onion actually, if you want to calculate that out. Alright, then we've got here 2 tablespoons of celery, and that is going to add to the whole savory flavor of this stuffing. Alright, we've got here 3 tablespoons of minced parsley. We have here 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Make sure you use unsalted butter now, alright? Okay, we've got 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. I love minced garlic. Alright, now getting down here, we've got a ½ pound of flaked crab. Now you can use scallops and cut them up as well. I prefer crab meat myself for this particular dish. Alright, now we have here a ½ cup of chicken broth. And lastly, winding everything down here, we've got 32 crushed party crackers. Now, party crackers, that's going to be like your brand name that starts with an R, ends with a Z, and has 4 letters in it. Can't say their name, but figure it out. I'm pretty sure you all know what I'm talking about, alright? And that's probably about 3/4 to a full sleeve of those as well, alright? So that is our ingredients. Now, when we come back, we're going to go ahead, get ourselves over to the stove here, and we're going to start cooking up some fantastic stuffing to go with our shrimp. So you gotta come back and check this out. Well, howdy y'all, and we are here in front of our range, and we're going to go ahead and make ourselves this fantastic stuffing, this crab stuffing that's going to be going on top of our butterfly jumbo shrimp, which we'll introduce to you in just a bit, alright? But first, let's go ahead and roll up our sleeves and get to work, shall we? Alright. Now, what you also want to do too is just make sure that your hands are nice and clean and your work area is nice and clean as well. So, we're going to go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to be out of camera. Excuse me 1 second here. Alright. Like that. Oh, I just want to make sure that your cleanliness is next to godliness. Especially on Christmas Eve, alright? Alright. So, let's go ahead and start. Now, I've taken the liberty of putting our butter into our large skillet. You want to start out with a large frying pan, a large skillet. Go ahead and put your butter in. Now we're just going to go ahead and add the first set of ingredients in here. We're going to go ahead and add our mushrooms. You got to be able to start hearing this sizzle real fast. And that's all we're doing. Just putting in a few of our first starter ingredients here. Got our parsley, our minced parsley. It's smelling good already. It's just got a great flavor. Alright. Our minced garlic needs a little help here. Now, all we're going to do is just going to go ahead and stir this. We've got this on a medium heat right now, and all we're going to do is stir this for about 5 to 7 minutes. What we want to do, the objective here, is to get all these wonderful ingredients softened before we add in our crab meat and our other ingredients to really create this fantastic stuffing. Alright, so just go ahead and stir this down. You can I'm telling you, it is smelling yee-haw yum, let me tell you. Oh my goodness. Alright, like I said, continue doing this for about, I'd say 5 to 7 more minutes until your veggies are translucent and your mushrooms have lost their liquid in them. And you'll be able to tell this is doing great. Well, alright, looks like we're about ready to go ahead and add some of our delicious flake crab meat here. I'll just go ahead and throw that in, like so. You hear that? Oh yeah, that is fantastic. Now, stir that in with your veggies here, and your stuffing mix. And we're going to go ahead now, I just want to get this stirred in first. Alright, we're going to go ahead and turn this up to medium-high heat, okay? You want it to be a little hotter, okay? And that's all we're going to do. We want to constantly stir this for about 3 minutes, alright? So, once you get to the 3-minute level, then we're going to go ahead next and add in our chicken broth and our party crackers. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and add in our chicken broth here. And that's going to give it, yeah, a nice flavor, and a little bit of our crumbs here. You want to add the crumbs in and take this off the skillet here, like so. We're just going to do this for a second here. Take this off, and you want to go ahead, see if my camera can get this, yeah, and just add and stir this in. You don't want the heat on at this point, alright? So just take it off with a skillet, or off the burner, I mean. Take the skillet off the burner, and just go ahead and start stirring this all in, like so. We'll go ahead and add in a little bit more here, like that. Alright, and again, like I said, just go ahead. You want this to be a stuffing, and you can see that that's starting to happen right now. But very important that you take this off the heat when you do this portion of it. Okay? Alright, so taking that off the heat there. So when we come back, we're going to go ahead and introduce you to our jumbo shrimp. We're going to butterfly, and we're going to stuff those babies, and it is going to be a yee-haw yum experience. You don't want to miss this. Come on back. Well, howdy y'all, we are back, and we are going to go ahead and show you how to butterfly jumbo shrimp. Now the first thing I'm going to want to do is wash my hands because I'm going to be handling some of that. So let me go ahead real quick and do that here for you. It's very important that you keep your hands clean, especially when you're handling fish and seafood, because I'm telling you what, that is a highly contaminating way of contaminating the rest of your food and poisoning your loved ones and your friends and family. Don't think you want to do that. So we got some impeccably clean hands here. Let's go ahead and start. Now, sitting in a bath of ice water, I have here 6 nice sized jumbo shrimp. I think you can see them here. Bring it up to the camera. That's the star of our show. That's the star of our show and our recipe. Alright, so what do we want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and give you a demonstration of how to do this. Now we're using frozen cooked jumbo shrimp, and what you want to do if you use that, and it's a great method, it's a great thing to use because it saves a lot of time. If you use that, make sure when you thaw those out, use them within a day. I wouldn't even say 2 days. You could try stretching it, but let me tell you, if you've ever gotten food poisoning from seafood or fish, you would not want to take a chance on doing that. I would say use it as soon as possible. We just defrosted these about 6 hours ago, and they're good to go. But I would, if you've got more than a day of those sitting in your refrigerator, I would strongly think about using those for fertilizer out in your garden. Trust me, you'll thank yourself for that. So anyway, just a little tip for myself to you on that one. So let's go ahead and start. You can also use regular shell shrimp with the shells on them, uncooked. You can cook them. These just make it a little easier because when you're doing a feast like we're doing and having all these different entrees going on, you are definitely going to want to have time on your hands. And using this method with the cooked frozen shrimp like I'm using will save you a lot of time. Now these are also deveined, which is nice. Because when we're in the butterflying stage, you're also going to have to devein the shellfish too, the shrimp. So, all right, let's get started. We're going to take one here. We're going to set it on our plate. Now, there's two methods of doing this. You can either do it over the top or underneath the shrimp itself. Now, I recommend the underneath because two reasons. Number one, it'll sit in your dish just like that, pretty much just like that. And your guest, it'll be a lot easier eating it when you're trying to eat it from the bottom up like this than trying to eat it with the stuffing on top. It'll go all over the place, trust me. So for this method, use the under method. I'm going to show you how to do it. It's real simple. If you've never done this before, or if you've always wanted to and you've kind of always been afraid to, I'm going to make this so simple. You're going to want to go out and buy shrimp tomorrow. Let me tell you, it's easy and it's fun actually. You can get your kids involved with this as well. Alright, let's get started. First thing we're going to do here, just grab it by the tail. Just grab it by the tail like this. I think my other camera can get this. Now you just want to start at the tail end like this, alright? And you're just going to go ahead and just cut in. Now don't be afraid, you can cut in to the bottom a little bit, but don't go crazy either. You don't want to completely split this in half because you need some connecting tissue to butterfly this with, alright? So I'm trying to hopefully give you a good demonstration here. Alright, now you're going to need a little muscle here to pull this apart too. I just want to make sure that it's in there good. Alright, like that. And don't be afraid of it either. It ain't gonna bite you. Alright, so what we're going to do now, you can do it either side, is just go ahead and split this apart like so. Now don't get crazy with it. Be gentle, alright? These shrimp, they're gentle creatures. You don't want to get too rough with them or you will break them. So just start out very slowly like this, okay, and just work your way to the tail. Now, first thing I do then, what I do is I'll set this down. I'll do it. I'll crack the tail. You hear that? Did you hear that noise? That's kind of cracking the tail, so everything kind of sits down. And again, you just have to play with it a little bit. There we go, just like that. It can stick up a little bit like that. Now, just go ahead and pull this apart. Alright, but like I said, don't go too nuts with it. You just want to get a good butterfly representation, like this. Alright, you see how that looks like there? There we go. You can pretty it up a little bit if you want to, take a little bit off, but that's pretty much what you want to have right there. Alright, just like that. Now, we're going to go ahead and take that butterfly shrimp that we have right now, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to use a couple of teaspoons of our stuffing that we made in our earlier segment here. And this is easy. Just go ahead and just put it on like so. You have to press it on a little bit, okay? And this stuffing makes about 18 servings or 18 shrimp. We're only going to make 6 tonight, but you've got enough there for 18. So what that is that will create, you can use that for more things if you want. You can use it for other, if you got another party or something coming up, you can freeze it, you can store it. I mean, it'll freeze good as well, and you can just put it back in the skillet and warm it up and use it again if you want for, you can do stuffed portobellas, all kinds of different things. So, alright, you've got your plate here, and what we're doing is we're just going to stuff this here like so, just like that. Alright, just get a good representation on your shrimp like that. You don't want to mound it too high because it'll end up falling off. Okay? And then, wipe my hand off here. Now we're going to move this over. We're going to bring over our square 8-inch casserole dish, and we're just going to go ahead now, and we're just going to go and take and place that into our casserole dish, just like that. Alright? And like I said, you can move your tail around or whatever if it's getting in the way. You can move it a little bit like that. But there you go. You got some nice stuffing on top of that nice breaded shrimp. Now, we're going to go ahead and just keep on going here. And that's it. Alright, now we still have one more thing that we need to put on the top of those to make those just pop a little bit more, alright? So what we're going to do now is I'm going to wash my hands because I need to, again, play with food. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. And don't those shrimp look good? I'm telling you. I'm telling you, wait till you see them when they come out of the oven. Yeehaw, yum. All right, now we have a little paprika here. Now all I want to do is just go ahead and sprinkle a little bit of it on each of these here, like so. You don't want to put too much on, just to give it a little color and a little more of a blended flavor to it. So, you know, don't be afraid to put any on, but just don't cover them in it. All right, that looks a little bit more maybe over here. That looks really good. All right, well, now we are ready to go ahead and put our stuffed jumbo shrimp, not baked yet, our stuffed jumbo shrimp here. We're gonna go ahead and put those into our 350-degree preheated oven that we already have behind me here. And so, without any further ado, let's go ahead and do that right now. Now, these jumbo shrimp will stay in the oven for 20 minutes. Keep an eye on it. You want to make sure that you take them out when they've gotten a nice golden brown on top. It'll be about 20 minutes or so. Some ovens vary a little bit, so just keep an eye on it, all right? And then when we come back, we are going to go ahead and show you our final presentation and take a little taste of those wonderful baked, stuffed shrimp, all right? Come on back. The moment of truth has come, and now we're going to go ahead and take out our baked stuffed shrimp right out of the oven here. They're done. So I'm going to turn my back on y'all for a second while I do that, all right? All right. Oh, does that smell good? Oh, yes, these are done. All right, let me set these down right there. Close the oven up. Now, folks, let me tell you right now, I'm just looking at these. Don't those look good? They have a nice golden brown. The paprika adds a little flavor to them, a little texture to them. Those look simply wonderful. You know, it makes a great entree for any type of meal. I mean, it works great for our Feast of Seven Fishes that we're doing here on Christmas Eve, but you can do these for appetizers, for hors d'oeuvres. You can have any multitude of different ways of using this. It's fantastic. Now what we're going to do is let's go ahead and get these on a presentation plate, and we'll take a little taste of these just to make sure our guests are going to love them as much as they smell and look. We've taken our baked stuffed shrimp out of our casserole dish and put it on a nice presentation platter. And what you can do as well to jazz it up a little bit if you want is take some parsley and just sprinkle it around the top, and also serve with some lemon wedges. Now, we're going to go ahead, I'm going to sneak a little bite out of one of these. Don't tell anybody now, alright? So, we've got this beautiful presentation platter here. Don't they look wonderful? Nice and golden brown. You got this nice paprika on top. We sprinkled some parsley. The colors just work really well. What a great addition to any type of party or get together, or just a Sunday dinner if you want to get a little fancy, and especially for our Feast of the Seven Fishes. I'm going to go ahead now and take a bite. Let's see what this is. I'm going to take the whole bite. I'm going to leave one less on this platter. Let me tell you something, folks. That is a major yeehaw yum of a meal there. You can taste so many good things. The butter with the breading and the stuffing, and You can taste all the great combinations of vegetables. It is cooked, baked to perfection. The stuffing, the shrimp, you will amaze your friends, family, and loved ones by trying this and impressing them with it. It's not that hard to do. It's very easy, and it is very, very impressive. So, give it a try, won't you? All right. That's all the time that we have for on the Chuckwagon Cowboy Show. I want to say a very, very special season's greetings, happy holidays, from our kitchen to yours, and from the staff and crew of the Chuckwagon Cowboy Show, and your host, Chef Ron Locke. Season's greetings, everyone.